Natasha Clark, who, of course, is your tribune in rooms like that. She represents the listeners to LBC, which made it, to my mind, if not to hers, all the more offensive that Rishi Sunak elected not to let her ask a question earlier this week. Certainly managed to ask one today. But first, she joins me now from Manchester to compare the two rooms, Natasha. I jokingly suggested that Rishi Sunak's launch looked like it had taken place in a hospitality suite at Silverstone Racecourse. But then I received a text from someone who does work in sales and said it is a hospitality suite at Silverstone Racecourse because he went to a sales conference there not long ago. Starmer's looked more, I suppose the word I'd reach for would be more like a rally, I think.
Good afternoon, James. Yes, we're here at the Co-op's headquarters in Manchester. And honestly, people literally hanging off the rafters to hear from Keir Starmer this afternoon. It's a multi-tiered building with several floors, and they're all literally been lining the stairs, lining the halls, trying to get a glimpse of him and trying to get in here now for selfies, pictures, and to try and get a glimpse of the man himself. So yes, the atmosphere between those two launches that I've been at this week could not be more stark. And obviously we talked about the energy in the room of the Tory launch, and there wasn't much of it, it's fair to say. Could not be further from what we are like here today. It's like night and day. There is excitement, electricity, genuinely people are beaming from ear to ear. Shadow Cabinet, you saw them coming on the stage just before Keir Starmer came on to speak to us just a few minutes ago, and they're all beaming from ear to ear. They clearly are quite happy. As I asked Keir Starmer how the campaign's going so far, he said, yes, we are enjoying it. And you can see from their faces, obviously, they're riding so high in the polls, the Labour Party, and seemingly that Ming vase, the careful vase that they're trying to carry across to the electorate, is seemingly untouched so far. And yes, earlier today, he's been outlining his manifesto. I've got a copy of it right here. It's got so many pictures of Keir Starmer's face in it. There's 30 I've counted, but not a lot of new policies. And like I said, he stood up today and said that he wasn't going to be announcing anything new. He said what the country wants is stability instead. So it's really a bit of a repetition of Keir Starmer's greatest hits, if you will. Labour's first steps for change. I was there when he outlined those just a few weeks ago. And that really was a dress rehearsal for this manifesto launch today here in Manchester. Cutting waiting lists, that border command to stop small boats, more teachers, Great British Energy, antisocial behaviour, clamp down. And his main focus that he wants you, the listener, to take away from it today is that he wants to be the Prime Minister that's going to create economic growth. Obviously, we saw those figures yesterday. GDP absolutely on the floor, 0% growth in the last quarter, according to those latest figures. Keir Starmer said today he would make it the central mission of his Labour government.
The way we create wealth in this country is broken. It leaves far too many people feeling insecure. People who are working hard and doing the right thing. So we will reform it. And we will keep on reforming it until it delivers for them. Wealth creation is our number one priority. Growth is our core business, the only route to improving the prosperity of our country and the living standards of working people. And that's why we made it our first national mission in government.
But James, there was a dose of reality tinged in his speech today. He admitted that it wasn't going to be easy to do all the things that he wanted to do, that he wouldn't be able to fix everything overnight, and he couldn't just wave a magic wand to make all of the problems that Britain is facing just go away.
Don't get me wrong, these challenges don't disappear overnight if Labour wins. We don't have a magic wand. But what we do have, what this manifesto represents, is a credible long-term plan, a plan built on stable foundations with clear first steps. Tough spending rules that will keep taxes and inflation low. NHS waiting times cut with 40,000 extra appointments every week. A border security command to smash the criminal smuggling gangs. Great British Energy to cut bills in your home for good. More police in your town. Cracking down on antisocial behaviour, and 6,500 new teachers in your school, giving your children the start in life that they deserve.
And in terms of the numbers buried at the bank of this quite chunky manifesto, there are £7 billion worth of revenue raisers in there. Some will call them tax rises as well. But Keir Starmer today promising he won't raise income tax, national insurance, VAT, but other things will be changed. But this is all things that Keir Starmer and the Labour Party have talked about before. They're going to launch that clampdown on buying foreign property. They're going to launch closing the non-dom tax loopholes. This is all stuff that Keir Starmer feels very confident talking about today because it's not new policy. He's been defending this policy for such a long time. He said it wasn't fair to raise taxes again on working people when they were already so high. But what he didn't say was whether there could be any other tax rises somewhere else in his first budget to pay for it. We did try and ask him in the Q&A what that might look like. But again, he declined to say that. He also, I think, was a little bit unfair on what the price of austerity might be. There was a question from one of my colleagues about how you're going to possibly stop a return to austerity, but at the same time, you won't tell us exactly where the money is going to come from to stem some of those tax rises, those cuts that the Tories have already stemmed into their thinking.
Well, I mean, the question that is not going to be answered between now and election day is what if the growth doesn't happen? Because the reply will be, and has been, it will. So
exactly.
that's an exercise in finger crossing.
It is a bit, and I do think that, the Labour Party now in the next 3 weeks of this campaign, if the polls continue to do so, they are going to be scrutinised far more than they ever have before. And I think Keir Starmer's policy of growth, there's not a lot of detail about exactly how he is going to grow the size of the pie to make it all better. Every government wants to get good growth. Every government wants to increase our GDP, but the steps in order to make it happen aren't quite clear. And I think Keir Starmer does risk finding a lot of anger with the electorate if he goes in trying to promise the earth and then comes out and is not able to do so. We don't have a lot of details about exactly how he would do a lot of things. A lot of really emotional, powerful performances today. We heard from Daniel, whose two kids are having to share a bed in East London. From that really effective campaigner Nathaniel, who's sadly dying of cancer, saying he lives in hope that things can get better for the NHS. A lot of why things don't work in this country at the moment. But I just feel that from being here, there are a lot of holes in what Keir Starmer's plan is going to be, and not a lot of answers about exactly what he's going to do to fix them.
The response I'm getting is almost unanimously positive to the speech, but I suppose that we're looking as much at tone and style as we are at content and detail. That there may well be different responses the more the detail settles. But I suppose we should point out that Rishi Sunak is unlikely to answer any of those questions in any more substantive fashion about how growth is going to be generated. Everyone wants growth. But neither of them capable of really setting out a blueprint, if you like, a copper-bottomed blueprint on how growth will occur. But I mean, would it be inappropriate of me to ask you to give marks out of 10 to Sunak on Tuesday and marks out of 10 to Starmer today, just on overall performance, overall delivery, overall reception?
Look, I mean, the overall delivery and reception from Keir Starmer was much better than Rishi Sunak, purely for the fact that he is obviously, doing so much better in this campaign. He's not had the same mess-ups that Rishi Sunak has had. He's not had the same slips. He's not had that D-Day gaffe. And you could see it in his face for Rishi Sunak. He had obviously had a really, really dire week and was trying hard to get back on the front foot. But Conservative MPs are not buying it. Tory candidates are not buying it. And let's be honest, there's nothing moving in the polls. The voters aren't buying it either. Keir Starmer is riding high. He's looking confident. He was hugging people in the audience, shaking hands, doing selfies. He very much looked like a man that was in charge of what was happening today. And he seemed pretty happy and comfortable with the way things have gone. And like I say, they had this dress rehearsal for their for their Labour manifesto launch just a few weeks ago. And it really was a carbon copy of what they did just a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, he's done very, very well today. I think he's come across as very calm, very confident. And like you said in my response to the question, he clearly is enjoying this campaign. He clearly feels very comfortable and thinks that everything generally is going pretty well. Finally,
Natasha, did you get an apology from the Tories for being ignored, having travelled all the way to Silverstone to cover that manifesto launch?
No, I didn't. And like I say, all hats off to Keir Starmer for taking so many more questions questions from journalists. We always very much appreciate it. There is a bit of a rota system that goes on in terms of these questions. Sometimes you get one and sometimes you don't, but these are the big events, and we are incredibly grateful to be heard by the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, today.